it's not a good year to be climbing Mount Everest. We can only attempt the summit when the snow conditions are ideal and the wind speed is not as high. Sometimes there can be 2 windows, about 10 to 15 days.
This season, the weather conditions are not as favorable. With only 3 days to attempt the summit, the stakes are extremely high.
Because of the record number of permits being issued, there will be a bottleneck up in the mountain.
Those who are in the queue, they cannot go ahead. They have to stop there for a long time. Your oxygen starts depleting. Your body is already into fatigue mode.
2019 is proving to be one of the deadliest climbing seasons yet for Mount Everest, after another American mountaineer died while coming down from the summit on Monday.
I was introduced to climbing when I was in the National Cadet Corps in secondary school, and they brought me on a trip to Mount Everest. It was the first time in my life that I saw the sunrise over the sea of mountains and its warm rays shine on my face. And I remember closing my eyes and I knew that it was the moment I was waiting for. Some people might argue that there are other ways to attain such moments of glory, but for me, mine was right here in the mountains. And the feeling of accomplishment was something that hooked me, made me feel better about myself, and I felt that I could do something more with my life.
I met Jeremy in 2007 when we were in Republic Poly. We had the same CCA, which is actually trekking and climbing. Climbing is our passion.
You know, conquer your fears. That's what it's all about, right?
As I started climbing higher and higher, seeing the world, the feeling of exploration, the feeling of the freedom itself was something that was very motivating for me.
I love the idea when he told me that he wants to climb Everest.
Alright everybody, we are at the Tamil, the city center, doing some shopping, get some of the last minute equipment like Coca-Cola. I went to Nepal on the 6th of April 2019. I chose to sign up with a commercial operator because I wanted to have the experience with an international team. There was about 12 of us, all from different countries.
Jeremy was very enthusiastic, he was very cheerful, and we became friends in a matter of few minutes or so.
He may appear pretty thin, but I think he's one of the stronger climbers in the team.
Usually for Everest expedition, we will spend a certain amount of time just resting at the base camp. When the time is right, we will proceed through the Khumbu Icefall, and then Camp 1, Camp 2, all the way up to Camp 3 for acclimatization. And then we'll come back down to base camp before resting further down at the lower villages and wait for our summit window.
The best time to go to Everest is in the month of May. Usually, you get a good weather window.
That window is the period of time where we can attempt to go for the summit itself. The winds are dying down, the snow level is not that high. When the monsoon kicks in, the season is over. And this year, we only had 3 days to attempt the summit.
Almost 400 climbers from all over the world, and most of them have a personal Sherpa with them, so it makes it around 800 people.
I was pretty worried about the amount of people that will try to attempt it during the same time.
You need to wait for your turn to go to summit.
Acclimatization day. Strong winds over here today. Looks like we are just going to go slow. Yeah, the winds are really killing us.
We try to reach to Camp 3 to feel the altitude and see how their body react to the altitude. You would have a lot of headache if you're not used to the altitude. Some people really can't even breathe at night. They feel like you are drowning.
I remember that Jeremy was little ahead of me and both of us just stopped because the wind was such a high speed and we were clinging to a rope, avoiding to fall from that wind. So we turn our face to the other side to avoid that splash of ice that flow with the wind.
My fingers were getting very cold and getting numb, and I was starting to feel the wind is going to stay for a long time, and it started blowing even bigger and bigger as we got higher and higher to Camp 3. This is just a acclimatization climb to 7,000 meters, and I didn't want to jeopardize my chance of the summit itself. So I decided that I wanted to turn around. We are making our way up Mount Everest. I saw one of these guys lying down backwards, but his hands were exposed and his legs was exposed, and it was basically a dead body that was lying down there. On the 2nd of May, we are attempting to climb up to Camp 3 for our acclimatization cycle. The wind started to pick up, and it started blowing even bigger and bigger as we got higher and higher to Camp 3.
I remember that Jeremy was little ahead of me and we were clinging to a rope, avoiding to fall from that wind.
My fingers were getting very cold and getting numb, and if I lose grip on the Juma, I might fall. This is just a acclimatization climb to 7,000 meters, and I didn't want to jeopardize my chance of the summit itself. So I decided to turn around. I returned back to Camp 2. Suddenly I was awoken by a huge gust of wind and the vibrations of my tent.
I remember that the tents were shaking so much, we felt that our tent will, get uprooted.
All our own tents were being blown away, and people hurriedly trying to escape. Many of the Sherpas were asking us to, as quickly as possible, go back to base camp. At the same time, there were some Sherpas that were asking us to help to hold on to the remaining tents. The cyclone is totally a freak weather. We didn't expect a cyclone happening in the Camp 2 or Camp 1 of Mount Everest. So because of the cyclone, it might end up triggering the avalanches. If there's an avalanche, everybody will be wiped out. So we wanted to make sure that we got out of there as quickly as possible. As I was making my way down, we were actually blown off our feet a couple of times. We could have been blown into a crevice. There has been cases of people like Sherpas who actually fell down near Camp 2 and they actually died. So we were quite aware of the dangers and we decided, okay, let's put our crampons on and proceed on to base camp.
We brothers and Jeremy were discussing, we thought we would go further down to Debuche. Debuche is at around 4,000 meters. So basically there is more oxygen for your body to adapt well.
I actually got the call from one of our head Sherpas to inform us about the summit window when I was down at Debuche village. Our lead Sherpa has discussed with the other international teams and they have decided that the best day for our team to go to the summit will be on the second day of the 3-day window.
Haris came out 2nd of March. A month later, Jeremy went to Everest. We decided to have a child before he scaled because I wanted him to feel the fatherhood. I wanted him to have this feeling of fulfillment.
Even though I've been climbing for many years, but now the stakes are even higher. I had to make sure that I come back in one full piece. Nothing is being left behind. It could have been a bit selfish and a bit irresponsible, but at the same time, I knew that climbing Everest was my passion, it was my dream, and no matter what, I had to achieve it to prove to myself that I could do it. After about 1.5 months climbing up and down a few times, we are ready to go for the summit and the last week of May.
Hello, we are at Camp 3 at 7,000 meters. So all is very good and the weather looks very nice.
Hello. Can you hear me? I was calling her to tell her that, I'm at Camp 3, I'm ready for the summit. I remember that she said, be careful, to listen to your heart, just do your best. And I told her I'll call her at Camp 4. We are making our way to the Camp 4 of Mount Everest. And along the way to the death zone, I saw one of these guys lying down backwards, but his hands were exposed and his legs was exposed, and it was basically a dead body that was lying down there. It was quite tragic. A person trying to achieve his dream, but he has died. And the idea that I could have been this person really took me back, and I thought that, this is really life and death. I should take each step properly, don't lose focus.
So when he called me at Camp 3, he promised me there was supposed to be another call before his summit push. So I waited for the next call, but I didn't receive any.
I left Camp 4 and we are approximately about 900 meters from the summit. 4:30 a.m. in the morning, I reached the south summit. So that was the feeling of elation actually. I was right on time. I knew that I have ample time to reach the summit. I knew that I was going to go for it. And the sun started to shine on the traverse towards the Hillary Step. I was shocked to see that there was more than 200 people back to back along the entire traverse towards the Hillary Step. How can there be so many people? I didn't even encounter them on the way up. And the instant thought that I had to myself was, how am I going to make it up on time? When I stepped onto the south summit, I was shocked to see that there was a lot of people. When I expected maybe 50 people or 75, there was more than 200 people back to back along the entire traverse towards the Hillary Step. I started to join the queue. People were packed like sardines back to back.
Since you're stopping for a long time, what happens is your oxygen starts depleting. Everybody goes into that fatigue mode.
This is also known as the death zone. It's a very inhospitable place to stay in for more than 24 hours. Most of the climbing accidents have happened above the death zone. The death zone is about 8,000 meters, and it's called a death zone because of the sheer lack of oxygen. The ambient air has about 1/3 of oxygen at sea level. The death zone goes all the way up over 800 meters to the summit of Mount Everest. So typically, a climber shouldn't spend more than 24 hours in the death zone. You run out of oxygen and suffer from hypothermia, frostbite, hallucinations, and even altitude sicknesses. And I started to hear people shouting. Nobody was giving way to come down, and nobody was giving way to go up. It was totally like a giant chaos. The ridge was so knife-edge, they were so narrow. I had to compress myself against the side of the ice ridge, because if not, I might have been pulled down when they were coming down. It's really dangerous. Oxygen systems running out, hypothermia, frostbite. Your feet is in the cold for such a long period of time. A lot of things can go wrong.
And as the day progresses, the speed of the wind increases, the chances of avalanche increases.
The news is out. There was a traffic jam going towards the summit. If we stuck at the traffic jam, then what will happen? The news came in, there was death after death that particular year. I get more worried. So I haven't heard from him for 2 days, and I kept waiting for him to call home.
So I was literally waiting in the queue for like 1 hour, just waiting there. Even though the sun had rose, it was still very cold. There wasn't a lot of space, just space for one person. It was a really precarious and uncomfortable location to be at 8,700, 800 meters. So I kept looking at my watch and just keeping track of the time. When there was an empty spot, we had to try and squeeze our way through so that we can continue heading up, but it was a really slow movement. Step by step, trying to move my way or weave my way in between the queues of people. I did have some thought like, oh, what if I don't come home, if I make a mistake, I might fall down and I might die. So I had to be very careful because I wanted to go home and see my family. After around 1.5 hours in the traffic jam, I finally managed to wiggle my way through up the Hillary step with my Sherpa, and then we were like, okay, let's go. I finally reached the summit. To be honest, it was quite sad. I only spent 15 minutes at the summit or less. It was quite a short period for a 15-year-old dream. Reaching the top is just the middle point. I knew that there might be the same traffic jam as I was going down. The wind was already blowing, and as I was coming down, I realized that my eyes started to get a bit blurrish because of the snow particles that was being blown by the wind into my eyes. I could only see like 70 to 80%, and it was getting really scary because I realized that this is life-threatening. And to make matters worse, I started to have problems with my oxygen mask. I couldn't breathe properly, and I was starting to choke on it. Oh, I can't breathe at all. And I was telling my Sherpa, what should we do? Then he gave me his oxygen mask, and I tried to use it, but it didn't work. Oh my goodness, this is getting from bad to worse, and I'm in for a very serious situation. I'm trying to traverse the most difficult part of the entire Everest climb without oxygen. So that was extremely frightening. I was thinking about home. How far away am I from home? I had to try and make it back because my family was waiting for me at home.
What's disturbing to me is that when the friends started to text me, how was it? How was it? It didn't cross my mind that I would lose him, but I didn't know what form will he come back as. Whether he's injured, whether he lost his legs or anything.
So at that point of time, the most important person was to trust my Sherpa, who was directing me on where to go. He actually pointed where I needed to step, and he will take my footing and actually shift it to the correct position. So I tried to take as deep breaths as I could, to get oxygen in there and slowly make my way down. As I was making my way to the south summit, my vision started to come back. Probably the ice melted inside the ventilator or the mask and the regulator, and then suddenly I could breathe properly. As I was approaching just further down from Camp 4, I had a radio call on my Sherpa's radio. My buddy, Donald Cash, and the same team had unfortunately passed away, and they had to leave him because they couldn't bring him down. He actually suffered a heart attack somewhere near the Hillary step as he was coming down from the summit. It hit me quite badly because we were quite close. All of us, we always had a lot of fun together. We danced together. We had very close conversations. So it was very, very big hit that he didn't make it down.
2 days later, he called me when he was at Everest Base Camp. I felt so happy, proud of him. I jumped on my feet. It's quite a relief to hear that he submitted because I knew that that is what he really wants. Everest was his dream.
Knowing that there was quite a lot of accidents, there was about 11 people that died on Everest that year. It was definitely a close shave. I done all I could to prepare, and I had a promise to come back, safely, and I did it. I've climbed quite a fair bit of mountains in my life, and of course Mount Everest is the highest one, and I felt that reaching the top and finally making it down safely is an achievement, but it's also very daunting because of the sort of the near-death experience. The book is more of a closure as well for me to finally wrap up whatever I've been through on Everest. I was thinking about who should I invite to be writing the foreword for the book, and there will be nobody better than the leader of the first Everest expedition from Singapore. In a way, I would say that David is something like a mountaineering father, where he's able to advise me. He's been there, he's done that, he's climbed, many, many mountains. It's called No Mountain Too High.
Wow, let me take a look at that.
Yeah, so I got the manuscript for you.
I think one of the great things about writing a book is that it sort of puts a closure to a particular chapter in your life. You sort of sum up what you've learned, you revisit fantastic, powerful, intense experiences, good or bad, that may have shaped your character, what you believe and how you should do certain things.
Also, part of it is to try and educate future climbers some of the dangers that they might foresee and that they can try and prevent it when they go on the Everest expedition, for example. For me, the most important thing for climbing a mountain is always coming back alive. I'm very happy and fortunate that I managed to survive the expedition with everything intact. And of course, I'm going to take what I learned from 2019 and plug that out and put that into all my other climbs in the future.